Good morning, Sister Aileen McClain. It's so wonderful to have you here this morning. And I must say, you have a beautiful smile.
Oh, thank you.
You are currently a resident of the Dominican Lives Center, correct?
That's correct.
And you've had the experience of living in Regina, and now on the elegant floor, fourth floor,
Right.
of Maria. Yes. And aren't the staff people so good to the sisters in the Dominican Lives Center?
I hope so.
Yes, yes, that's one of our gifts, isn't it? Now, the McClain name is an historical name because I remember Mother Gerald's prayer book falling out when I was cleaning her stall. And on that list were the names of all the sisters who had blood sisters in the congregation. So the three of you, and tell us your other two sisters who were part of the Adrian Dominican story, the other McClains.
Well, actually, there were three others because we did have a brother. He was the youngest of the six, but he was very much a part of the family.
But two of your siblings entered the congregation before you, right?
Two of them. The two eldest, Helen Vincent and Helen Thomas. And then Aileen and Jean married. I entered, and my brother married. So we were half and half. Half married and half.
His name was Vincent, was
Vincent.
it? Vincent.
Yes.
And your mom and dad were Helen and Vincent.
That's right.
So, and you took your sister's name.
In those days, I did. In those days, we couldn't have, now how did that go? It couldn't be Helen Vincent because her name was Helen. That we couldn't take our own name. That was how it was. So Helen did the easiest thing, just made it Ellen Vincent. And then Helen Thomas.
Yes.
Pat took the Helen part.
And Aileen first was known as?
I was Betty.
Betty.
I was christened Elizabeth. But
Did anyone ever sing to you, Betty, 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 you are such a lovely miss. How about a little kiss? No.
No.
Tell me about your life on the south side of Chicago.
Oh, it was really very nice. We had lots of neighbors that were close, a lot of children. We lived about, a good 6 blocks from St. Calian's, but we loved it. We walked, of course, and we had one street, Ada, and Ada had an enormous lump in the middle of the road. And in the winter time, we couldn't get over the lump in the road. We'd start over and we'd slide back. We'd start again and we'd slide. And this is probably 5 or 6 kids, on their way to school. So finally, one of the boys found a branch that had been pulled down by the ice, and he crawled across the road and then turned around and put the stick out, or the limb of the tree, and pulled us one by one over the big lump in the middle of the road.
Oh, my.
And we were very serious about it. We had to get over that lump. But looking back, well, even then, once we got over, we just hooted. We were...
You had conquered the hill?
We conquered the hill.
And I suppose you were in your snow guard with your boots and your mittens and
leggings and
leggings.
the whole shebang.
Well, tell me about your life on the streetcars.
Oh, we thought we'd never get there. Going to Aquinas, one way we could go, we only had to change streetcars twice. But that was it was a longer way to go. So, well, I shouldn't say the longer way because I'm not so sure it was. We went the other way. We were on 2 streetcars, but then we had about 5 blocks to walk. But we loved that. You know, whether it was raining or snowing, or there were a whole bunch of us. And we just enjoyed. We'd pick people up along the way, you know. And I loved my 4 years at Aquinas. It was just, and then without my ever knowing it, of course, I went back and taught there years
Did
later.
you? Oh.
I did.
Oh, I hadn't
And
heard
was
that
a
before.
wonderful experience.
What a gift. Were your parents still living then?
Yes. Oh, yes. They were living then.
Well,
Yeah.
Mother Gerald was very conscious of parents, was she not?
Oh, yes.
And that we, in many cases, were stationed close to, especially if they were ailing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was very good.
So you could see, I mean, you didn't have to wait for a vacation for 3 years to see them. You could see them more frequently this way, couldn't you?
Well, we would go to see them wherever they were.
Mm-hmm.
But in those days, we only came home for 1 week every 3 years.
But didn't they come and visit you more easily when you were at Aquinas?
Probably. Well, by the time I was at Aquinas, we were able to go into the homes. You know, Ellen and Helen couldn't. But then Aileen and Jean came in between there.
Were the 3 of you, Ellen Vincent, Helen Thomas, and yourself, Aileen, were you ever missioned together
No.
in the summer? Or
Oh, in the summer, I was with Helen Thomas at one point, yes. Ellen, no. I never lived with Ellen.
was she a superior in Chicago, Helen Thomas? I think I remember
I
hearing
think
that
she was, yes.
And I remember hearing this story. I don't know if it was Helen Thomas. Somehow I relate it to her, where after morning prayer, the superior, and in this case it could well have been Helen Thomas, said to the sisters, "Now, sisters, when you leave your bedroom before you go to school, stop at the door, turn around, and say to yourself, would I want the plumber coming in this room?" Does that sound like Helen Thomas?
I don't know. I never heard that.
You never heard that. But I think it might be a true story. I know you are an avid reader. When did that love of books begin for you?
I think when I was a child, my mother or one of the older girls would read to us, you know, to me, and I just loved it. And
Even to this day?
Even to this day.
And what kind of type of genre are you attracted to?
Well, many different kinds, I think, but mostly mysteries, like Mary Higgins Clark and her daughter, especially there. I've read every one of their books.
And maybe twice?
Oh, at least.
I know one of our sisters used to keep a tab of all the books she had read just so she wouldn't find herself reading it a second time. When I think of you, I know you spent time in Chicago teaching, and
Oh, yes.
you must have been a marvelous teacher because you not only taught the children, you became the principal in several schools. But primarily, most of your life was spent in Florida, wasn't it?
Yes.
I mean, I would say your apostolic life, your ministerial life.
Yes.
And what is the school that you opened as a very young sister?
In Tallahassee, we had, I want to say St. Edmunds, but it was, I can't, isn't that terrible?
No.
I was principal there for, in the beginning, we could only be principal for 6 years. And then later on, that changed, and I was in Tallahassee for a long time.
Well, all together, I remember hearing that you were there at least 30 years, all told, three different times.
Right.
3 different times.
Right.
Do you think the pastor kept pestering Mother Gerald to make sure you came back?
Oh, I doubt it. I don't think he would. I would doubt that.
Was it different going back the second time?
Not really. You know, the people were the same. Many of the same parents had children, younger children in school. Those were the days when a lot of families were very big. You know, I mean, have 5, 6, 8 children was not unusual. And so very often we'd have 3 or 4 in the same school. And when we first opened the school, there were just 2 of us. No, there were 3. And we opened with the first 4 grades. And then every year we added a grade.
What was the challenge when you first went there, when you think of beginning a new school?
I think we just took it in stride. Mm-hmm. You know, we didn't know anything else. That's what we were told to do. So.
And you hadn't been teaching that long either, had you?
No.
But you had the books you needed, and
we had everything that was
quite remarkable.
Needed. And we started with the first 4 grades. And Nora Leahy was one of the teachers, and who was the other one?
Was it Rose Germaine? Or was that later on?
Yes, it was Rose Germaine Gettler. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I knew it was a Gettler, but I couldn't. Mm-hmm. And myself, the 3 of us. And we had, I remember one time we were in Tallahassee and we had a very heavy snowfall. And that was unusual in Tallahassee. So we talked a little bit, the 3 of us talked it over, and we decided we were going to let the children go across the street, and of course we went with them, and let them play in the snow, because they may never have that opportunity. So, they just had a wonderful time. They made angels in the snow, and they made snowmen, which were about this big. There wasn't that much snow. But we were able to get some angels. Some of the boys pulled a lot of snow together, you know. And then anybody who wasn't afraid, some of them, they had never seen snow, and they didn't know, they knew it was cold, and they were, you know, but there were some that were brave enough to give it a whirl. But that's about what we did that whole day. You know, I'd bring them in then and let them get warmed up. Then they said, "Can we go back, sister?" Back we'd go.
Well, that was an education. in itself, wasn't it?
It was. It was. And the parents saw it that way. You know, they were very, they laughed a lot about it. But the children were just, and they made snowmen, but the snowmen were...
Your story of the snow reminds me of during our recent general chapter. It snowed one day, if you
Yes, it
remember,
did.
a fierce snow. And I'm told that our sisters from the Philippines did just what those children were doing, could not get enough of playing in the snow or taking pictures of it because it was so rare.
That's right.
Where were you, Sister Aileen, when Vatican II happened in the church and the renewal happened in our congregation?
Oh, my.
Chances are it was Tallahassee.
Yeah, I think it was Tallahassee. I'm quite sure it
Did you
was.
find the changes difficult or?
No, I think most of us just went, you know, we'd go with the flow. We had certain rules and regulations, and we followed them. So.
Was it difficult for you or a challenge to take the habit off and go into regular clothes?
I don't think it was that difficult. I think most of the time I would figure, this is what they want. This is the way we're supposed to do it. We do it. You know, we didn't
How beautiful.
question anything. We just did what we were told. And
Oh, that's beautiful.
we were happy doing it. You know.
I remember a student saying to me when we changed our headgears, "Sister, you've lost all your dignity." But no one could ever say that about you. You're a very dignified and beautiful woman. I know prayer is very important in your life because I've seen you walking the halls of Regina praying the rosary. So that must have come from home. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Did you have a May altar?
I don't think so. I don't remember having one.
Was it difficult for your parents to give away 3 daughters to religious life?
I think it was a little difficult for my mom. I remember when I told her, I guess for my dad too, because when I told my mother first, she said, oh, you know, just kind of, she didn't want to make me feel bad in any way, but I don't think she was terribly enthusiastic about it. And she did say, don't say anything to Daddy, I'll tell him. So he found out through her. But I guess they just thought 2 was enough, and then Aileen and Jean were married, and then I came, so there was quite a space between Helen Thomas and myself.
Well, you have some dear nieces and nephews now, don't you?
Yes, I do.
And you visit one in Michigan, I believe.
Yes, there's one in Redford, Michigan. Yeah, I go there quite, well, not often, but I go for Christmas sometimes.
And you still are in communication with your brother,
Oh, yes.
Vincent. Yes, he's in Chicago, correct?
He's in Chicago. Well, he lives in, yes, he does. Again,
That's okay.
it'll come to me.
Okay.
But he's right on the border of Illinois. So he goes into Chicago often.
I know one reason why you returned to Adrian. This was about 10 years ago, or 10 or 12 years ago, was to companion Sister Rose Germaine to Adrian, who was ill at the time. Is that
That's
correct?
right. Yes.
When did you come to know Sister Rose Germaine?
Well, she was one of the earlier ones I worked with in Tallahassee. Rose Germaine and Nora Leahy and myself were the three.
But you lived with her at another time, too, didn't you?
Oh, I lived with her a great deal of the time, yes. Yeah, we were very close.
Was she ever your principal?
I think she was principal at one time.
I know you had the privilege of, I'm very jealous to say this, of Vero Beach and West Palm and Tallahassee. You must have had a lot of relatives visiting you during those years.
Well, I really didn't because they really weren't able to take trips like that. And my parents never came to Florida. But every 3 years we'd go home.
No, yeah.
So we would be with them then. But we did call, and of course we wrote. Writing was the first way of keeping track with everybody. And then later on we did the phoning. But, and those were the days too when we went home every 3 years. So it was a long time in between.
Were you all home at the same time?
Yes.
Well, that was lovely.
Yes, they always did that, as far as I can remember.
But
three of
initially
us,
you didn't stay at home. You stayed in a convent.
We stayed at St. Killian's.
Killian.
Yeah, we'd go. We had to be back by, I think it was 8 o'clock. And then we would go back home after Mass in the morning. And my dad would be there to bring us back home. It was only about 6 blocks, so it wasn't that terribly far. But I think they wanted to get us home fast so that we could spend
more time. And then you got to know the nieces and nephews when they were younger, too.
Oh, yes.
Which was a gift.
Yeah.
Do most of them live in the Chicago area now, your nieces and nephews?
No. Pat's family is in Redford, Michigan. And there's no one far south. There are a few people that we were related to in some way, but there are very few left, really. Vince is the only one, and he lives, as I said, on the right near Chicago. So he goes in periodically to see his own children. But we do a lot more today by writing and calling, a lot of calling.
That's wonderful. You seem like a woman who is very flexible, and but certainly you've had challenges in your life. None of us are free from those bumps in life. When you look back over your life, what were some of the major challenges you faced as a religious or as a principal or as a teacher?
I really can't think of very many things that were negative at all. The people I worked with were wonderful. I mean, even the parents. Once in a long time, we'd have somebody get ruffled about something, and that was okay. We finally got them calmed down, but that was looking back, I think, was a very, very happy life. I was very fortunate.
Well, the life you have led is a tribute to you and your faith and your spirituality. And I'm wondering if there's not a plaque or a street named after you or a statue in front of the Tallahassee schools where you taught.
I don't think so.
Well, you must have made a remarkable impact on those families. I would love just now as pretend I'm a reporter and go back to the area and get the real stories. It's
The
really
real story. I don't honestly know if that school is still open.
tragically. Probably you're right.
I honestly don't know, and I don't know. I still know a lot of the people, you know, who lived in the area, and I do hear from them, and I do write to them. But that's not the same as being with them and talking to them, you know.
Now, one last thing. We don't know who the next woman will be who enters our congregation or comes to see what we're all about. What would you want to say to that person about your religious life?
Well, I could never say anything other than that I was exceedingly happy. I never remember even having the thought of going home go through my mind, or of getting married or anything like that, you know. I love the children, and I don't care how old they are. I feel very close to, especially the little ones.
Yes.
But I've never regretted anything that I've done.
Well, for your beautiful life of ministry and your beautiful and inspiring religious life, I just want to thank you in the name of all our sisters. God bless you.